Last time we had the Furigoma and its title match, so now the center will be opposite. Center this time was Satomi Kana, Kurashiki-Toka, and Gote was Itosa L.3-Dan. And this is the 27th Oyama Meijin Cup Kurashiki-Toka tournament. 3 games title match, game 2. The result so far was 1 win for Satomi Kana, and if she would win this game, she defends the whole series. As I said, the game was played in Kurashiki City, Kurashiki Art and Cultural Hall at 10 o'clock. Later it was moved in front of live audience. The time for the game is 2 hours, 60 seconds Byomi. Last time we had this weird central pawn opening. Let's see what happens this time. So, Satomi-san started with the central pawn and immediately went for the central rook, which Ito-san answered with the third 5 rook. And you can already see it's a little bit unusual. And usually what's one of the ideas that Sente can have is to go to the left and make left side Anaguma. Or just continue to the right and make a usual normal Aifuri-Bisha opening. Let's see which one Satomi played. And she moved the left silver, which indicated that she's not gonna play Anaguma on the left side. The game continued naturally. And Ito started moving to the castle. And here, because the bishop now has the connection with the rook, Satomi-san can open it. The gold moved, and Satomi-san also goes for the castle. And here, actually, this rook has little... Like, this file is good also to like exchange the pawn, but it's even better to go for the opposing rook. So she starts to prepare that by pushing the 2-4 pawn. Satomi-san of course goes for the castle. And the question is which castle she makes. Before that, Ito-san asks her about the edge, and the response is to not touch it, because Satomi-san chose for them to play Mino. And if she would defend it, maybe it would mean that her opponents get faster. In the future, Gote would like to use this knight to attack the edge here. There's a pawn on the way, but she can exchange it after going for opposing rook and then play the knight here. So that's the Gote's plan for this position. Now, before she does that, she needs to castle her king. So after she gets the edge, Satomi-san also pushes the central pawn. Ito finally goes for castling. Senta will try to develop her position. Gote will try to go for the opposing rook, and here Satomi-san plays the interesting move, a6-6 bishop. Well, kinda looking at the edge, and as you will see, she will also do something with her rook. Also go for this nice line over here. So there's might be one reason why it's good to move the rook here. If you look at it mathematically, if there are generals here, there are so many pieces defending no squares, while this file will be weaker. Also, in some cases, it's easier to use like silver to help. And I guess if you attack the edge, having pressure on this side of the board is also better than having pressure here and on the edge separately. Usually the opposing rook has the might as power in the Aifuri-Bisha opening. Here, Ito-san, you can see her intentions clear. It's the Kin Muso castle, but actually she's going to change it to Yagura as soon as possible. Kin Muso is a very weak castle, and in this case, because Sente didn't push this pawn too early, she can make this shape before she pushes the 8-5 pawn, so she uses that as her strategy here. Okay, Satomi-san goes. She finishes her Mino, and Ito-san blocks the rook in the future, deletes the wall silver that was blocking the king, and develops her shape. So in This position, up until now, we saw both players like correcting their rook position and finishing their castles. They both adapting their castle as they go. So you can see that there is no immediate attack, mostly because both of the silvers are still on very low positions. If you can, you usually want to use the knights efficiently, but it's still too early, so both sides will still wait patiently. So gold goes up, making high mino, king goes deeper. The edge pawn is being pushed. And this time, because there is this clear attack over the edge, using those pieces, Ito decided to defend it. And here, Satomi-san played the silver up. It was commented a little bit maybe early, but she goes, what she wanna do is basically make a control over the center. So we go for the Yagura slowly, and as you see, Yagura takes a lot of time, right? Mino is finished very quickly, but Ito-san is still in preparation phase, so here Sente makes her first move because she has the perfect shape to do so. The pawn is being exchanged, and guys, you usually don't want to drop this pawn immediately, because when Sente retreats, they will have a pawn in hand, so they would have kinda this success. You wouldn't have this pawn to use anywhere else, so you wanna keep it. And because you don't have to drop it immediately, you can do it later. You wanna keep it just in case, so she played this kind of move before that. Satomi-san retreated, and here we have the right side Yagura finished. Usually you would like to develop the knight here, but Satomi-san decided to push this pawn. Now it's time for Gote to move. She exchanges the rook side pawn. And there is the option of moving silver up, but Satomi is satisfied with her position. She drops the silver. Gote retreats here. And pushing this pawn, waiting a little bit because there's no immediate attack on Yagura. And here finally Gote decides to close the bishop line, which could indicate some chances for Sente to move. The predicted variation was to move the rook here. So we're going up, knight, pawn drop. Next, the bishop would go back, and this pawn would be the way for Sente to attack. But what happened? It was actually Satomi simply moved the bishop back without moving the rook and knight to make this attack even quicker. This would be a good move for Sente, but also this bishop left this line, so hey, maybe it's perfect moment for Gote to counter, and this is what she does. She pushes the 5-4 pawn. If you take it, then this bishop gets opened. You block it using this pawn, which is protected by this bishop. Pawn drop 5-5, and if you go back, it means you're defensive, passive. If you go up, then there is this move, trapping the silver next. So in this kind of variation, Gote takes the tempo, so you don't want to take this pawn. What Satomi-san does is go through the, according to the proverb, if you see the line under attack, move the rook there. So she does it. Here there are actually many variations that were commented, so let's take a look. One was, obviously you have to protect this pawn, because next this silver can go up. The bishop is too late, so one way to do it is to move silver up. The pawn is taken, silver takes it, pawn drop, and silver goes back, which means the center gets the control over the center. The other way is to retake this pawn, which can be taken, and maybe this, but the professionals weren't too sure. It doesn't look too confident for Gote, but not too bad. And then the third variation they considered was to go even more aggressive, immediately open the bishop line. Silver takes, bishop goes 5-5 being free, but here you can move the rook to protect the lance, and the bishop cannot promote easily. In this position this silver is a little bit low, and this silver is quite attacking Alright, so what Ito-san played actually was for free silver. It seemed that it wasn't the best variation according to the comments, but if she played it, it cannot be too bad. Let's see how it developed. Indeed, the 5-4 pawn was taken, the 5-5 pawn was dropped, and she did move back. So maybe it is not interesting for Gote, but it doesn't mean it's immediately bad. She just clenched her teeth and chose this boring variation, still having chances to go on later. So here Sente goes with her original plan, 6-6 pawn, and before that Gote tries to make her own counterattack. Here, as you see, if the pawn will be moved, she can promote the bishop. That's the plan. Moving the knight and pushing this pawn to open the line. Sente doesn't care. She moves, Satomi-san moves 6-5 pawn first. Gote also don't wanna take it, knight, and here Satomi-san pushes the 8-4 pawn, throwing it away in Tesuji. Here it was taken with the pawn, and commentary suddenly changed to little better for Gote. As I said before, Gote chose boring variation, but turned out that even the commenting professional, he couldn't find a good continuation, attacking continuation for Sente. And he mentioned that the shape of the pieces, which I found very interesting, in this shogi, because the rooks are on those positions, it's hard to get a rook exchange, which means both of the shapes will be attacked from the front, not from the side, from the top, like this. And by the theory, it means that the shape that has more pieces on the second and third row, as opposed to this one that has it on the first, like this one gold on the lowest row. The shape that has more pieces on the second and third row is better accustomed to attacking, to the attack from the top. It's a better defensive shape, so it seems that Yagura is a better shape for this kind of position. And therefore, Gote might be a little better. Well, Sente tries to attack. And here she placed 8-5 pawn. The reason why you cannot take it is that it would allow this knight to be developed. Also, this pawn itself is like not threatening much yet, so it is a chance for Gote to counterattack with those pieces that she prepared. 4-5 pawn. And it is very painful for Sente. Next, this pawn here forces the gold to move, which would force it into the bad shape. So she must do something about it, and she protects it with the bishop. Hey guys, so we have this position. Where do you think that Gote should continue attacking? What Gote chose is actually to go directly like here. If you take pawn drop, lance is forced to take, pawn drop again, and here the knight jumps. So in this case, you exchange the knight for lance, and there is no much different variations. Sente cannot ignore this attack because it's so direct. So of course lance cannot escape, so she tries to counter. And the comment said if Ito-san would defend with 6-3. So in this case she would force the exchange to get the knight somehow. And in the future she can take this pawn and threaten this kind of double attack over here. That was the Sente's plan apparently. And to avoid that, Gote moved to 7-4. Satomi-san continues attacking the gold to force it into the bad shape. Satomi-san played 6-4 pawn. Ito-san takes the lance, which is taken by the knight. Again, you wanna keep the king far away. And here, if you run with the lance, there is the pawn drop. So there is a nice tesuji of dropping the pawn instead. If you take it, it gets faster by pawn drop. So 8-3 counter attacking. So the king is only option. And here the professionals were actually expecting something like this. and then threatening this kind of move. Bishop drops 6-5, or instead of that, pawn promotion, a gold takes, and the bishop from the below. And therefore the pawn 8-3 was decided to be a good move, but that's not what happened. Satomi-san played simply rook 6-8, threatening pawn promotion, and here you wanna defend it, but before that there is this nice tesuji, drawing the piece closer, and as you will see in the future, it would mean when the gold is attacked, it will go to 7-5 square, which was previously protected by the bishop, and it's directly attacking the rook. A really nice tesuji, giving Gote back the initiative. And here Satomi-san chose the... Alright, so in this position you can obviously see that this gold is under attack, but she doesn't care much about that. She continues attacking. If it's taken, you can see this is much... Well, it is an equal exchange, I guess. But this gold is not as crucial as this one, probably. So she's forced to take this pawn. And the edge attack continues. Here Satomi-san plays quite a surprising move for me, which was to escape this knight. I would expect that Sente doesn't have enough time to do it, but for some reason she decided she don't want to give Gote pieces. And here was one of the most crucial moves of the game, I think. I would like you guys to look at this position a little bit and try to think what Ito-san did. What she played, to everyone's surprise, was to use this lance to actually to block off two big pieces at the same time and defend the gold. And you would say that it's not important to defend the gold, but in this way she kinda blocks off those big pieces, leaving some future possibilities for king to go up, blocking away this attack and this attack at the same time. So it seems that Sente cannot let Gote take the initiative, and Satomi-san tried to attack. A pawn promotion, silver takes. And there is of course the possibility of blocking the lance, but here it would mean that those big pieces gets even more stuck, because this pawn needs to go all the way up again to unblock them. So it's really hard to drop this kind of pawn here. So instead she protects her gold, so in case her rook is taken, this gold can be taken without this gold being under the attack. And actually Gote still takes this rook, the gold is still taken, and here Gote goes for the defensive mode. Now that she has the material advantage, she decides that she's fine with it and she will slowly defend. He goes back, now threatening the knight drop, and the edge attack happens. The king escapes. It's still quite wide, there is a lot of escaping places for the king, but the bishop comes in. And here, if the king escapes, maybe the rook can take the knight and the attack continues. So it seems the gold drop is the only move. 2-5 rook. If the bishop is taken, which I think actually was, in the comments it was said that lance retakes it. In the game actually the rook took it. And that's the only move, right? You cannot take the rook because the bishop is here. So takes, rook retakes, and because the knight wasn't protected, here it comes. And here we are in the endgame phase. Suddenly you don't care about the material anymore. What Gote cares about is to put the king as far from the danger zone as possible and survive until the checkmate happens. The silver is taken, it is retaken because the Sente's king is still relatively safe, and very tough attacks continues. A bishop drop. And this move is actually a checkmate threat, using the silver. King goes up and knight jump. And knight jump is a checkmate because the bishop is here. So it is a checkmate threat, which she defends using this silver up. Then here center tries to put this pawn, which is taken by the token. And there are two possibilities that they mentioned, which is one drop here, one pawn drop here. Both are threatening something nasty. This one is threatening to make a tsumero. Here this one is threatening to take up this defender. Sente decides on this move. She took this pawn and started a very long forced variation. Silver takes, knight drop, king goes up, rook drop. And people, the professionals were commenting they're not sure how to continue, but here, by using bunch of checks, the king gets far away into what it seemed to be a safe zone. Here it is cut off using this rook, and next there is this tsumero using this gold and the gold in hand. So Sente is in trouble. She has to make an escaping route. And this is the time where Gote drops the pawn. The bishop cannot take it because it's gonna be taken for free, right? The king goes back. And this is the timing, and only then is when she moves, finally, the gold to 6-2. So the difference is, now this move, the bishop 3-4 promotion, doesn't exist, and Sente is in a quite trouble. I found it very, very interesting. Also, by the way, if the bishop promotes here, the silver goes back, you know, escaping the pawn, putting the pressure on the horse. So here Sente goes for the final attack. She takes the silver. Gote takes the bishop. The pawn is promoted, which is being taken. Sente actually defended with gold, and the reason is that there is this bishop. Let me just pass one move. The reason is there's this bishop drop, and now Gote is safe. She can take the silver, but it also means the king, you know, is wider. So the fight continues. Silver drop, yet still Gote will defend safely. And pawn drop. A pawn drop is not a checkmate threat. Gote is safe, so she will attack. And this pawn will be very important because it will activate this rook. The king goes down. The pawn is being pushed here, allowing the knight drop in the future. The bishop will escape. And funny fact, if the rook wouldn't be opened, this would be a checkmate threat. Like this. Like this. So checkmate, right? But because there is a rook here, when you take the knight, it would be taken by the rook. This pawn push over here was the crucial move to attack while defending. So yeah, bishop escapes, not at tsumero. The knight comes in, king goes back. And a silver drop. Little bit surprising. It looks like a free silver drop. If the gold would take it, there is the bishop drop here. And actually leading to a checkmate. So the only way is to take it with the king. And here, knight promotion is the final move that was played because Satomi-san resigned. Alright, so let's find out why did she resign. So obviously you cannot take this. If she goes down, that's a checkmate. If she goes up, then there is this move. And there are two variations. Number one, gold takes it from the top. Gold drop, king runs, gold drop. There's no other way. And here, this gold takes. We mentioned before, bishop drop, king runs, gold drop, king runs, bishop promotion. And the third way is actually not taking it, but running away. Then there is this bishop drop. You have to block it, and if you look closely, all the squares around the king are under attack, so this simple gold drop is a checkmate. So in this way, the result was tied 1-1, and both players were forced to play a playoff, which actually very anticlimactic took place today, one day after the yesterday's game. The result is well known, but I'm not gonna tell you until next week's stream, where we're gonna comment the final game. So both of them have a chance. Satomi-san can defend her title, or Ito-san can get her first title. So thank you everyone for coming, for watching, for being active on the chat, and see you next week for the final game. Bye bye!